Moving down south here. So you're probably not watching this till after hunting season's over. But I've been watching a lot of Jeff Sturgis' channel on YouTube, Whitetail Habitat Solutions. If you're really into deer hunting, that's a channel you should really check out. I don't know the guy, but man, he's got a wealth of information on his channels. And one of the things he talks about is these water holes that he creates. He's doing a lot of this up in north and different places, but he's a basically consultant for folks with you know, different sized tracts of land for setting up their property for optimum deer hunting for big bucks. And so I've been watching a lot of his videos. This water hole thing keeps coming up, and watched a lot of them. I decided I'm going to give it a try this year. So I'm going to get a hole dug to put this tank in. This is one of the ones that I'm going to basically do everything that Jeff says to do here. And it's in South Carolina. We got some hard clay. That's why I brought some machinery to get my hole dug. I got a tree stand set that'll be right over here behind me. And I've killed a few. There's a natural area where the deer funnel through. So I'm hoping this water hole will kind of help with some buck stopping in during the rut. But I'm going to get this thing dug in, set it up. Just like I said, just everything Jeff said. And then I'm going to put some cameras up, and we're going to kind of document how this works throughout the entire season. At the end of the season, we'll wrap this up and let you know how I did and show you all the details and what came into it. So that's the plan. So stay tuned, hit that like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
So per Jeff Sturgis, the premise behind creating a water hole is not to draw deer from other properties, but rather to help direct deer movement, changing their patterns enough to bring them where you want them. Now I think Jeff recommends doing this in May, and it's July when I'm doing this, so I'm a little late. However, he did say that you really shouldn't expect the deer to use this until later in the fall, you know, when the leaves start coming off and things start drying up. And really that makes sense because deer really get 90% of their moisture from what they eat throughout the year. But in the fall, you know, things dry up, the leaves are dropping, the moisture content and what they eat really goes away at that point and dries up. And so water sources at that time become more important. Now, I do have a creek that runs right through the middle of my property, so, you know, I kind of wondered, was this a waste of time? However, after watching Jeff's videos, he talks about three things. One being, in his experience, he's seen deer go to a murky water hole. It will prefer that rather 9 out of 10 times to a clear water source. And that's number one. Number two is that, you know, creek bottoms are low points, and bucks, older bucks especially, don't want to put their heads down, you know, where they can't see around them. And the other factor is that he feels like that the warmer water, they prefer the warmer water in a stagnant hole over a running creek. And then again, the third thing is that he thinks they get nutrients out of the murky water. And he's talked to some biologists about this. Now, he's been doing this for years. He's got a lot of videos on this. So go to his channel and check it out. But my purpose here is to see if this tactic works here in South Carolina.
All right, I don't know about the holes that Jeff's been digging, but in South Carolina, this ground's full of rock. I've had the tractor out here, it's been 3 hours. I've had to dig this hole bigger just to get these big rocks out. I've had some like this big they've had to pop out, and branches and roots. I think this is a really good spot for a water hole, but without the tractor, I wouldn't be able to have this far. I've already been 3 hours on this hole. So this better be worth it. Yeah, that nozzle is closed all the way, isn't it? Before we start filling this in. Oh yeah, it's tight. Okay, we're good. So this is like 4 hours of labor with a post hole digger, with a front end loader on the tractor. And that's why there's so much dirt spread out, because there was so many huge rocks. You can see one pile of them over there. Huge rocks had to be pulled out, roots. This ground is hard. Red clay. If I was in Florida, I could have dug this out with a shovel in like 15 minutes, filled it all back in. But this was a job. So it's like 4 hours of labor here. I think it's a good spot. If you see a tree back here, it splits. I usually put a lock on that tree over there. There's a power, and the bucks come through here already. They cross through here, they come through here. So I think this might make a good stopping point for them to make, especially during the rut, pre-rut, come in and get some water. So may have to bring some more fill dirt in when all this settles or something around this. Gonna get some water in there now and put some cameras out here and see what it does. All right, we got it filled up. Took like 3 runs with the tractor. With this rain barrel bucket we filled up. Came just about to the brim there. Probably need to do a little more grading of the ground around it to get some flow to come in here. There's a downhill slope coming down. That double tree right there is where my tree stand goes. So we're gonna get that set up, get some cameras out here, and we're gonna start monitoring this thing. Today's July 4th, so today will be the first day that we've got the water hole filled up. So July 4th is when we put this in, completed it, and started it. And so we're gonna start monitoring from now and see what this does through the season.
So yeah, Jeff was right. We didn't see any activity on the waterhole until mid-October. I mean, nothing, zero, zilch. Now, in my part of South Carolina, the typical pattern that we typically see is we're going to see rut activity, the last 2 weeks of October and the first 2 weeks of November. And then down there, you got some spotty rut activity a month after that, roughly a month after that, just kind of hit or miss, really. And we don't have a, super defined rut like they do up north, but pretty much the last 2 weeks of October, first 2 weeks of November, that's prime time here. So also keep in mind, as you look at these pictures, this is South Carolina. We don't have bucks like they have in Ohio. So, if we see a 120-inch buck here, that's a really good buck for this area. And quite honestly, you got to hunt what you got. I'll take enjoyment in what I can get here. But interesting to see after looking at all this that there was a nice buck that came into this area multiple times, hitting the water hole during the daylight. And this year I mostly hunted the spot in the evenings. And I did kill a deer from that stand, an 8-point. But basically, this was a nicer buck actually here. And, of course, it's just a sampling of pictures here. But pretty much what I learned from doing this is that, hey, if I want to connect on a nice buck on that water hole during daylight hours, probably I'd hunt it in the morning based on the number of pictures I had in the morning of a nice buck coming in. So I think the water hole actually helped this area as far as number of bucks coming into it during the daylight hours. Now, I also did implement Jeff's recommendation on doing a hanging vine for a mock scrape, and I'll have another video on that to show you the results of that. That's actually pretty amazing. So you have to check that out. All right, it's December 24th, Christmas Eve. And just checking out the water hole, replacing the batteries in the camera over here. There's been a lot more usage on the water hole in the last couple of weeks here. You can see the level it's at right now. And I bet you I've never seen it go, say, more than an inch below that mark the whole season since I put it in. So that's been a pretty good indicator of keeping it full, of how well it stays full. We'll see what the summer does to it, I mean, deer are using it, so that's a cool thing. So hopefully it alters some of their patterns by coming by one of my prime spots I like to sit at. So overall, I think it was effective.